Okay, and to every other person responding, I want to say a big good morning to you, Madam Onaji, Akorede Olukoya, Damilare Bukunle, Progress, Salient Consulting, Akorede Olukoya. Wow, that's the second Akorede on board. And Inyeti Akman, Effiong, Asukwo. Thank you all for joining this morning. So this week is going to be loaded with a lot of fundamental activity. You can see it all there, quite a number of them. And today, Monday, 23rd. We're having a lot of events. Usually Mondays can be very quiet because of lack of fundamental activity, but this week is different. From today, we have a lot of fundamental events to deal with. Even yesterday, Sunday, there was a speech, by President Donald Trump of the United States. United States just attacked Iran over the weekend, so we should get ready for quite some movement in the market this week. It all depends on how it's going to come. It could be chaotic, it could be straight. We just get prepared for however it comes because of that attack on Iran. But this week, today, Monday, we have about about 14 to 15 events today, all packed together. Especially from the Eurozone and a few from the United Kingdom and a few from the United States. By 8 a.m. this morning, FOMC member Walla is going to give a speech. FOMC member Walla gives a speech by 8 a.m. It's a medium impact event. It's a speech, so it's not really going to be that tradable, but we just need to be cautious around the dollar for that event. But then from 8:15 a.m., the day really starts with quite a number of activities. First, we have the French flash manufacturing PMI, then French flash services PMI by 8:15. By 8:30, there's going to be the German flash manufacturing PMI and German flash services PMI. By 9 a.m., there'll be flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI. By 9:30, is the turn of the United Kingdom. There'll be flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI. And 2:45, there'll be flash manufacturing PMI and flash services PMI from the United States. And later by 3 p.m., there'll be existing home sales. So today is loaded with a lot of activities, but then we're going to focus a lot on the euro pairs, the pound pairs, and the dollar. Those are the two major instruments that are affected by all these fundamental events today. So let's watch out. I'll still guide us on how we may trade some of these events, especially the one for today. But then because of time, I'll just go and talk the key events for the remaining days of the week. Now, tomorrow, Tuesday, there'll be CPI from Canada by 1:30 p.m. And so 1:30 p.m. tomorrow, there'll be CPI monthly, median CPI yearly, shrimp CPI, and a common CPI by 1:30 p.m. tomorrow. So we expect a lot of volatility from the Canadian dollar because of these events that would take place tomorrow. And also tomorrow, Tuesday, there'll be speeches which will impact upon the market. First from the Bank of England, Governor Bailey, and the Fed Chair Powell for United States. Those are two major speeches that will take place tomorrow, which we need to take note of. Sometimes when the speeches have to be made, it's better you are not in the market because we don't know the direction it will go. On Wednesday, the key event on Wednesday will be CPI from Australia by 2:30 a.m. Now, 2:30 a.m., according to Nigerian time, is the time when most of us are in bed. So you have two options. Maybe you sleep and you wake up early to trade it, or you stay awake to trade it if you want to. And if you miss it altogether, it's still not a problem. Like I always tell people, there will always be another trade another day. So if you miss it, there's no issues about that one. When you wake up, you can pick up a technical trade to take. But then CPI will move the market by 2:30 a.m. Wednesday morning. And that is actually the main event for the morning session on. But it's actually still even the Asian session. Morning session, we really don't have any events on Wednesday. But then in the afternoon session, there'll be speeches again from the United States. Fed Chair Powell will speak by 3 p.m. That'll be later in the day. Now, the Thursday important event, 12 p.m., Bank of England Governor Bailey will give a speech. Then by 1:30 p.m., there will be a whole lot of events from the United States. So dollar will be very, very active on Thursday. About 5 to 6 events will take place on Thursday. There'll be final GDP quarterly, unemployment claims, core durable good orders, final GDP price index, all by 1:30 p.m. And later on Thursday by 3 p.m., there'll be pending home sales. So Thursdays for the US dollar. So take note of that. And finally, on Friday, the key event on Friday will be the gross domestic product from Canada by 1:30 p.m., which will come out simultaneously with the core PCI price index from the United States. So the dollar and the card, that means that we need to be very cautious with the USD card on Friday. But these are the two key events that will take place by 1:30 p.m. on Friday. All right, so let's now just focus on what will likely happen today. We're looking at a lot of events from the Eurozone precisely and the United Kingdom. These are the key events for this morning session. So I'll flip over now to the charts. Let's see what we have for the week. So I want to look at the weekly time frame, the setup that could impact upon the market for this week, and we check it on a weekly, then we'll scale down. What we do is called top-down analysis. We scale down to a lower time frame, like the daily time frame, than the 4-hour time frame, to get an overview of what is expected to happen in the market for the week. Now, for the USA card, I have a keen interest on this instrument this week. And why do I have that keen interest? One, last week closed as a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. You can see that USD card has been trending downward for quite a time. And at the lower part of that very trend, we can clearly see a bullish engulfing pattern. Now, what that means is that the selling pressure is reducing and the buyers are taking over the market. The market is reversing from a downtrend to an uptrend. So a lot of volatility will be expected on the USD card this week, especially in the bullish direction. And there are other instances I'll give, other confluences I'll give that will point us into the bullish direction on the USD card this week. One of it is just the rectangle I drew now, which is showing us that the USD card, apart from having a bullish engulfing candlestick pattern at the lower part of the downtrend, we can also see that price hit a previous resistance turn support. If I say even a key level, because at some point earlier, that same level was a support here, a support, a resistance. The neckline of this whole bottom pattern is a resistance, and then price hit it again as a support. So it's a very key level, which is also indicating price, is expected to bounce into the bullish direction. And finally, we have the trend line also that price hits multiple times and is indicating a potential bullish, movement on the price. This is the trend line, the lower trend line, where price is making a series of higher low, and the third higher low coincides with this same point where we have a bullish engulfing candlestick and a key level, a resistance to support. So technically, we have a bullish outlook on the USD card for this week. Now, since we have a bullish outlook on the USD card for this week, we can flip down to the daily time frame, and we can see that price is actually, trending up. But then I'll also draw my trend line so that I can capture the breakout better. We can see price has clearly broken out above the lower side of the trend line there. You can see we still have a falling wedge pattern also indicating we are really set for a bullish breakout on the USD card. Now, it's possible price may retrace a little before the actual break, takes place. There's a possibility of that. But we'll flip down again to the 4-hour to get a clearer view, of that position. All right, so this is the 4-hour time frame. Now, please take note that this is a swing setup. If you want to trade it on a lower time frame, trade with caution with a good strategy that can point you into that direction. Okay, so I have a previous resistance here, which price has broken, above. Like I said, it's possible price may retest this region because RSI is completely overbought at 70. We may have a slight retest and a continuation. But either way it comes, whether it retests or not, I'm very, very bullish on the USD card for this week. So let's take note of that. Let's take note of that. We are strongly bullish on the USD card. So if anything, any news comes out on the dollar this week and the data comes out good for the dollar, that will further push price upward. If any news comes out on the card this week and it's bad for the card, it will also make the USD card to go up. Because if you look at it critically, that bullish engulfing candle pattern actually evolved into what looks a lot like an inverse head and shoulder pattern, on the 4-hour time frame. So we're strongly bullish on the USD card for this week. And the next pair we want to look at on the weekly time frame, I want to look at the Euro JPY. We're checking the big time frames first, then we go to the lower ones. Okay, there's been some movement since last night. Oh, this has moved. Okay, we might just have to ignore this. There seems to be some strength on that pair for now. It seems to be there's a lot of strength on the Europeans generally. Just a second, I'm trying to scroll to one of the pairs I've analyzed earlier. Okay, I think I'll just need to hold on this pair. Let me check other ones. But then generally we're bullish on the USD card. That's a key one. And I'll check. Let me quickly go through card JPY. Okay. Okay, last week we had a bearish outlook on card JPY, but it looks like that sentiment is changing. All right, looks like it's changing, though we still have a pattern set up. Price is trying to test the upper part. Okay, let's just still leave this and watch how it happens. Sometimes when you have this analysis, at the time the week starts, it's possible for a new, maybe a new high is taken, it will happen. But then we still have this rising wedge. If price hits the upper part of this trend line, we may have a reversal. We may still experience a reversal, but let's just watch this closely. Let's focus on the USD card for now. And if the US card is buying, generally the card JPY is expected to go in the bearish direction. But then we still want to wait for clarity, so that we're not just jumping into conclusion without having a proof for it. All right, so we're bullish on the USD card. So let's check other pairs that might be moving this week. So since we are bullish on the USD card, that means that we have general bullish sentiment on the dollar. That's actually what will have led to that. And we've been bullish on the dollar for quite some time. Even last week, we had some bullish outlook on the dollar. And though there could be some retracements, even for the USD card, I remember telling you just some minutes ago that I'm foreseeing the possibility of some slight bearish movement, which is called retracement, before we have a continuation. Now, for the USDX, that's the dollar index. That's what I'm seeing here. Price last week closed on it's not really exactly a support level, but you may take the tip, which is this region here and this lower part. It's not really touching the trend line, so we really don't have much confluence in that area. But then all things being equal, I still hold a bullish outlook, even though it's possible we may have some retracement on the short term. Then the bigger picture, will be the bullish movement on the longer term. So I'm still bullish on the dollar, but then we'll watch it closely as the week evolves. And with that in mind, we can still go down to the USDCHF, which is still bullish. You can see its price closed at the support level on the weekly time frame. And I remember telling you last week that this instrument might end up forming a double bottom pattern, which may lead to a bullish breakout. So we're still bullish on the USDCHF. We saw some movement last week, and we anticipate a bigger move this week. In the last like 3 weeks, the market has seen a lot of instability. I don't know if you observed it. There's been a lot of instability. There's been a lot of range especially on the higher time frame. But I believe that in the shortest possible time, all those instability will give way to a long-term, clear direction on most of these pairs. But then I'm bullish on the dollar, even though we may have some slight retracement, which is evident at the moment. Price doing some series of lower highs. We may see some lower high, then a breakout upwards. So I'm still bullish on the dollar for this week. Bearish on the short term, but bullish on the longer term. And with that in mind, we still hold a bearish outlook rather on the pair like the GBP USD and even the Euro USD. I'm holding bearish outlook on both the GBP USD and the Euro USD. Why am I bearish on these two instruments? For the GBP USD, from our analysis from the previous week, we saw price hit a resistance zone on the weekly time frame. There is a resistance around this region, and price hit the other side right here on the weekly time frame. So we have a resistance point there. And if we scale it down to the daily time frame, and if you remember last week from the daily, I said I saw a head and shoulder pattern, and price has clearly broken the neckline. So what we saw here is a retest. You can see a rejection candle there, a red rejection candle that is indicating the possibility of a further bearish breakout. So for this week, we still hold a bearish outlook on the GBP USD. However, I will encourage us to wait. Let's zoom down to a 4 hour. Okay, before we go down to the 4 hour, let's clear out some things here. There's a previous resistance turned support right here, and we want to wait for price to break below that area. All right, so you can see we have a resistance, a support, and a support with a rejection candle. So if a new candle breaks out below this region, that will trigger the bearish movement on the GBP USD. So we're bearish on the GBP USD for this week. Now, some of the Euro pairs. Now, we're having the news on the Eurozone very soon. This is EuroCAD. EuroCAD has been trading around a very strong resistance level right from the weekly and even the monthly time frame for some time. So the news this morning from the Eurozone, the PMI news, if it comes out really bad, technically, EuroCAD is trading at a very, very strong resistance level. So if the data comes out bad for the EuroCAD, we're expecting a reversal. It's been trading around this resistance level for quite some time. Even as at last week, that's the monthly time frame. On the weekly time frame, this is what we have on the weekly time frame. I still draw it down a little, so you can see that price is actually trading, in that region. I remember telling us clearly this is where price is within the resistance zone, meaning will reverse. And I remember telling us I was seeing a head and shoulder forming here, which is expected to lead to reversal. But for some time, like I said, market has been unstable. The expect reversals it's not been happening. So we never can tell. Maybe the reversal will take place this week, especially from today. So if the data this morning from the Eurozone, from the flash manufacturing PMI, flash services PMI, if it comes out bad for the CAD, which is what it should look like, because technically we are on a resistance level. Even on 4 hour, it's still trading at a resistance level. So if the news comes out bad for the card, well, we expect that to trigger a bearish movement on a pair like the Euro card. So I'm bearish on the GBP USD, I'm bearish on the Euro USD, I'm bearish on the Euro card. So let's take note of that. Now, market is not clearly giving us a setup for a signal at the moment. It happens like that. But then let's watch how the day evolves. If we see one, we'll definitely intimate you about it. Now, an instrument you need to be careful with around this period is actually gold. For many of us are gold lovers, trade gold with a lot of caution because it looks like the conflict between the US, earlier on it was Israel and Iran that started their fight. Israel attacked Iran. But then over the sometime last week, Iran decided to attack the US, and US responded over the weekend. You know, now usually this is what happens when we have those kind of attacks. It's expected to lead to a bullish movement on gold. Why will it lead to a bullish movement on gold? Reason is because gold is called a safe haven instrument, meaning that anytime there's a conflict globally or there's a natural disaster, investors pull out their assets, from other investments and they start buying gold. And that's why gold price usually can just be going up. But then last week, there was attack from Iran on US, and prices didn't go as expected. Now, US also responded with an attack over the weekend. I think it was yesterday, and then gold is yet to break out. Technically, it's still looking bearish. So trade gold with a lot of caution. You may think it's going to sell and it reverses into a buy. You may think it's going to buy and it continues to sell. So if it's possible to stay out of gold for now, I will advise you just stay out until there's a lot of clarity on what next is happening to gold. So trade gold with a lot of caution. Technically, it's looking bearish, but then fundamentally, it may reverse and it could be vice versa. So trade gold with a lot of caution at this point in time. And finally, I want to look at GBP card. US oil too. Usually, when there's instability like that, we expect some bullish movement on US oil. You can see there was a bullish movement last night, but then it quickly reversed again into bearish movement. So trade all these safe haven instruments with a lot of caution. Let's see the direction the week is going before we start, jumping into conclusion on some of these pairs. For JB card, I've been watching this since the close of last week. I'm expecting a bearish movement, though it looks like it's bullish at the moment. But this is what I will say about this instrument. Last week closed with price on a support, a kind of a support on resistance on the daily time frame. We have the previous support here. We turn to resistance around this rejection candle. Now, please mute your devices as you join this class so that you don't cause distraction or maybe get banned. So we have a trend line trending downwards there on that support on resistance zone with this rejection candle. So technically, we're expected to see a bearish movement, but so far this morning, you can see it's been bullish. Will it reverse? We can only watch and see. There's instability due to all the issues happening around, but then we may have some, retracement before we see the continuation. So let's still hold on to our view and watch in the course of the day. This is more like an intraday setup, and this is a 1 hour side to this, setup we're seeing. So I can draw my trend line clearly here. So in the course of the day, if price reverses and breaks out below this lower trend line and support zone, yeah, it will be a time to trigger a sell on the GBP card. So let's watch this closely, today as, the market evolves for the week. This is an intraday setup, it's a 1 hour setup. We only wait for price to break out below that lower trend line and that minor support to trigger a sell on the GBP card. And don't forget our confirmation is that our RSI needs to be clearly below 50 at the point of entry. So this is, I would say this is more like a setup I'm giving for today on intraday level. So let's just watch it closely. Uh, so that will be all from my analysis this morning. I've analyzed quite a few instruments. You can watch the video again. I'm bullish, strongly bullish on the USD card. That one is having a very high probability level of going really bullish. All right, we just had a little network glitch, but I'm back. So as I was saying, I'm very, very bullish on the USD card. I'm bearish on the GBP USD. I'm bearish on the Euro card and Euro USD. For gold, like I said, trade gold with a lot of caution. And I'm bearish on the 1 hour on the GBP card, purely intraday, level. All right, so I'll take a few questions out as we begin to round up. Okoro Evans, what about the oil market? Oil market is not stable. Oil market will be affected by the attack on Iran by US. We expected a bullish breakout, but at the same as at the moment, it's looking bearish. So we still need to wait and see what is happening. When it happens like that, it means some fundamentals are still not lining up properly for that bullish break to take place. So watch it very closely. Still watch it very closely till we can get a clear setup. But for now, we need to be very cautious with US oil. If price breaks out downwards, or we still keep watching. The thing is that at this period, some of these instruments will be moved a lot more fundamentally. Because it's more, a declaration of war and attack is more of a fundamental event. So we need to really get to know what is happening. What is the news saying? Is NATO going to step in? Is Russia and China, are they going to support? Are they going to support Iran? I was giving analysis over the weekend to someone, and I said, what could escalate all these issues and bring up more volatility in the market is if NATO decides to support Israel. Yeah, if NATO supports Israel with the US backing, and Russia and China decides to back up Iran, that will lead to an escalation of serious war, which will lead to volatility in the market. But to be very honest with you, even though we're traders and we don't really have emotions, like we always say, you have to be emotional about this because with NATO supporting Iran and US and Russia, China supporting Ukraine, that's declaration of third world war. Everybody will feel it. So nobody will. We won't say because they want to make money, we want a third world war. So let's just see how it goes. Whether there'll be dialogue and discussions to ease up the tension. So that's why we need to be very cautious trading these specific instruments for now. That's gold and crude oil. Now somebody is asking about the BTC USD. That's Ogunshola Clement. So let's quickly go over to the crypto market and see what's happening to BTC. So on the monthly time frame, price hit us the resistance level earlier on. We have a resistance up there. On the weekly, we still have that resistance, and price closed trending downwards last week. You can see the last week ended with a bearish movement on the BTC USD. And we take it further to the daily time frame. On the daily, price broke out below the support level that we can see here, but then we're seeing a retracement at the moment. There was a clear breakout below that support level. Let's take it down again to 1 hour. This is called top-down analysis, looking at different time frames, starting with the higher time frame down to the lower to see what price is doing. Well, it's not really so clear at the moment, but what I would say is this. Since price broke out below that daily support level, you know, and what we're experiencing now is a retracement. If we want to see continuous selling, we need to wait for price to break below this recent low. Yeah, if a new candle breaks below this recent low, that may trigger a further bearish movement. Otherwise, anything can happen at the current level it is. It may decide to buy or it may decide to sell, and we don't want to gamble. So we have to wait for price to break below that recent low. At that point, we can be more guaranteed of a further, bearish movement. This is what I'm saying. From this place, we can still buy, or it may just sell. We don't want to stay in the gambling situation. Either of this will happen at this point. But if price breaks out lower than this current level, yes, then we can see a further bearish movement. So it's still in an undecisive state, for the BTC. I'll take a few other questions as we begin to round up. Okay, F. Young Asoko is asking, good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Please, I'm new here. Can bullish engulfing candle can turn to bearish pattern? No. If you see a bullish engulfing candlestick, it cannot turn to a bearish pattern. It can't turn to a bearish pattern. The only thing, like when I analyze the USD card, I said I saw a bullish engulfing candlestick, and not just a bullish engulfing candlestick alone. There are other things that points to the fact that we're having a bullish setup. I saw the bullish engulfing on the weekly time frame, and it's also at a support on resistance level and bouncing off a trend line. So the trend here on the long swing setup, this is my perfect setup for this week. Here's the card, strongly bullish. Very, very strong. Even when I have a lot of confidence in this, that is going to buy, because of the setup. And if you check it on the lower time frame, now this is what happens when you see a pattern on the high time frame that is a bullish pattern. If you come to the lower time frame, even if it gives another pattern on the lower time frame, which is possible, it will still be a bullish pattern. And inverse head and shoulder is still a bullish reversal pattern. So you cannot have a uh, bullish engulfing on the daily time frame or weekly time frame and have an inverse head and shoulder on the lower time frame. It doesn't happen like that. What we're looking at in all this is the overall direction. So you may have a different pattern on the higher time frame and a different pattern on the lower time frame, but both of them will still be expected to go in the same direction. How that clears it out for F Young Asoko. So you cannot have a bullish engulfing on a higher time frame and or let's say the bullish engulfing turn to a bearish setup. It doesn't happen like that. But I cannot say there are instances, very, very few and rare exceptions, and that is if the fundamental decides to take over and change the pattern. Yes, that may happen, but that will require a high level of fundamental, to do that. It's not what happens all the time. But it's not impossible, but it doesn't happen all the time. The reason is because fundamental can override technical. Yes. But then if it's a higher time frame, you are seeing the pattern. Like I always tell people, most of the time, what you see on the daily and weekly time frame has already factored in fundamental. It's a reflection of the fundamental state of the market. So it's difficult for that to just change overnight, except maybe there is a war. But it doesn't really happen all the time like that. So I hope that answered F. Young Asoko. All right, so that'll be all from the analysis this morning. Please watch out in the 5X group as you get signals in the course of the day. We'll drop them there. Make sure you don't miss it. And if you're yet to be a part of that group, reach out to your account manager immediately after this session and get yourself signed up to the 5X group. The aim of the 5X group is to help you push your account into profits to times 5 of whatever amount you funded. So this is different from the regular Signal group. It's a new group entirely. You may need to do a fresh deposit for you to be a part of this particular. And don't forget also that we have physical training, in both our Abuja and Lagos offices twice in a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. The Abuja office training schedule is 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday and Thursday, while the Lagos office training schedule is 11 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. The address of the Abuja office is PU Prime Africa Abuja, Work and Connect Building, 58B2 Ukiwe Street, Jabi, Abuja. And the address for the Lagos office is PU Prime Africa Lagos, Lagos Executive Business Lounge, 54B Adeni Jones Avenue, Ikeja, Lagos. We'll be glad to welcome you to any of these two offices to have training, especially tomorrow, Tuesday. Efeng Asuko is asking, how can I join the Signal group? Now, I believe you are on a pre-prime group for you to be a part of this analysis session this morning. And for you to be in that group, it also means somebody must have called you from PU Prime office. So just look through your phone, and whoever has reached out to you from PU Prime, that person is likely to be your account manager. Reach out to that person, and ask him or her how to be a part of the 5X group. And if you're on the platform this morning, you are yet to be applying to PU Prime by signing up. That's not good enough. Just reach out to whoever has reached out to you before now. Or if you don't know that person, you can't trace a chat or anything, you can as well reach out to me. I'll guide you through on how to get registered and how to locate your account manager. All right, we'll end the analysis session here. Don't forget, by 12:30 p.m. today, we have our afternoon analysis session. The market might be more stable for us to drop more signals at that time. So make sure you don't miss it. So we'll see you by then. Take care and have a great day and a great week ahead. Bye-bye. You're welcome, Madam Onaji. You to have a beautiful day and a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome.